Okay, guys. Good afternoon. It's Thursday, the 30th of April. I can't believe another week has flown by during this distance learning thing. I'm going to try to keep this one much shorter. You know how that usually goes with me, so we'll see what happens. Just going to run you through the answers to the yellow packet. Really, the reason I'm doing this is it's just it is incredibly time consuming commenting on each and every one of your responses to each and every question when you're slightly off and just trying to give you a little bit of a tip or clarification. So I'm doing it this way for at least this one. Not going to do this for everything, but this one I thought warranted a video like this, and it would just be more efficient, I guess, and less time consuming. So let's get going. Clock is on. Capitalism versus communism. This is stuff we should know. Number one, common ownership of resources. It's not your tractor, it's our tractor. It's not your factory, it's our factory. You've heard me say that a bunch of times. That is communism or socialism. Profit motive. Why do you do what you do? To make a profit. That's capitalism. Why do you sell what you sell? Why do you provide the service that you provide? You're looking to make a profit. If that's all going to get shared by everybody anyway, what's the point? That's communism. The invisible hand. What determines how much your laptop, your Shakespearean insult calendar, your little bobblehead Harry Truman costs? How many of them are there? And how much people want them, right? You don't need the government to come in and tell you to drop your prices if things aren't selling. You just realize I'm going to sell them for a lower price and maybe more will sell. And if they're flying off the shelves, you realize that you can raise the price. That's supply and demand. In a communist system, right, even if people really want things, you might not be able to get them. Go to the Soviet Union in the 1970s with a box of Levi's jeans and you could come home very wealthy, right, because they just weren't available, and you could sell them for a lot of money. VCRs, same thing. Because again, in a communist system, they're dictating where the resources are going to go, and they didn't want to use the technology and the resources for making VCRs. They'd rather put them into missile guidance systems and things like that. I'm going to talk more about that in a later video, and how that ends up helping us actually win the Cold War, or the first part of the Cold War, if you want to think about it that way. Karl Marx, God know this, is the founder or the grandfather, whatever you want to say, of communism. He writes the Communist Manifesto. Talked about him during the Industrial Revolution. Supply and demand, again, didn't we do supply and demand? Well, profit, yeah, that goes with profit motive, right? So I think I kind of spoke about that a second ago. How much of something is there, how much do people want it, that determines the prices of things. A classless society was supposed to be the idea, or the end result of a communist system, right? There is no rich or poor, but we know that really never happened. Private property. It's my house, it's my factory. That's capitalism. It's my car. For me, it would be my wife's house. Just kidding. Adam Smith is the founder of capitalism. Talked about him way back in September when we actually did this thing called Go to School, when we did the Enlightenment. Competition. The idea that is capitalism, the idea that everybody's trying to outdo the other, which sounds negative, sounds greedy, but the idea here, again, this is going back to Adam Smith, and the idea that if there's 15 different pizzerias trying to produce and compete with each other, and what happens? They all attempt to make the best tasting pizza at the lowest price, and that benefits everybody because now you've got 15 different pizza places to choose from, and hopefully getting your pizza at a low price. A command economy is communism, right, where they're commanding you. I don't want to make these missile guidance systems. Well, too bad. You have to because we're commanding you to. Consumer goods, again, the Levi's jeans, the VCRs. And again, I understand some of you are probably like, what the hell's a VCR? I'm talking about during the Cold War, right? Microwaves, things like that, that people wanted, you just couldn't get because they're being commanded to make other things. And in laissez-faire, we talked about that also. Hands off, let the economy do what it's going to do. Some businesses are going to fail, some are going to succeed, whatever. It happens. That's capitalism. Again, not communism. Right? As far as the questions go, right, 5 minutes in, let's try to keep rolling. First set of questions was about this picture here, and this is these guys were or are whatever the big three. All right, so you got FDR, Stalin, and Churchill. Again, no regions this year, but trying to play this straight up as if you're getting the same experience that you would even if there was a regions and times were not insane. So FDR usually the clues for him in a political cartoon, he would have a cigarette and a cigarette holder and glasses. I don't think I'm not sure if he's got glasses on right there or not. Stalin, you've seen a bunch of him. Look for the big bushy mustache. Churchill, a little overweight and balding. Right, the only thing about this particular political cartoon, I don't think FDR in real life would be standing up. If you were, supporting our drama club and seeing the production of Annie, that FDR had polio and was in a wheelchair. But maybe he was on braces or crutches or whatever. Okay, so those are the three guys, the big three. What are they doing? You should be able to tell from the image, even if you weren't sure. And again, I shared some sections of the textbook with you. They're redrawing the map of Europe. All right, they know Hitler's going to be defeated. It's just a matter of when. It's not a question of if, but when they'll be defeated. And what are we going to do next? All right, so this takes place at Yalta. That's number 15. Right, that's where they had this conference. I mentioned that on the other video. He's gone now, but to his dying day, my grandfather would still complain about that and giving half of Europe back to Stalin. And again, he promises I'll allow free elections, and then obviously doesn't. And how did it eventually help cause the Cold War? Because Stalin breaks all those promises. Right? There's another one. I still want to keep going here. So Stalin breaks all his promises and does not allow those free elections, or allows elections where you can only vote for a communist. And that's one of the reasons for the mutual distrust and the Cold War. So here's the next page. And obviously you can read who these three gentlemen are, right? But let's talk about the first one. Maybe a little silly. Why does Harry Truman seem like why might he be the happiest person there? Because this is Potsdam. This is the Potsdam Conference, right? I'm just going to put that down for a second. This is the Potsdam Conference, and this is where Truman finds out that the atomic bomb has been successfully tested, and hopefully we're not going to have to lose millions of Americans and Japanese by invading, and we can use that to hopefully end World War II in the Pacific. Quick story about Harry, again. He's my dude. And I'm not going to say it anymore because it's silly. This won't be on the regions because there's no regions. But I think it's a really cool story. Harry, before he was vice president, remember FDR had 4 terms, only president ever to do so. Or three and change because he died before the 4th one was over, but he was the only president to be elected 4 times. Before he was vice president, becoming president when FDR passed away, I can't tell you the exact name of his position, but somewhere as a senator he had the responsibility of being a watchdog and investigating spending and where many of the funds were going during World War II, and he kind of stumbled upon the Manhattan Project. I don't know if he knew it by name, but he just came across the fact that so much money is going into this weird thing that nobody really knew anything about. So he did his job, and he was kind of investigating that, and some of the higher-ups basically told him, Harry, lay off this, all right? You got to trust us. we're not taking our wives on special vacations or buying our kids cars with this. All right, this is not corrupt. This is helping America, really important, but you can't go digging into it. And Harry backed off, which I don't. One, I don't think it would happen today. I think it would be on Twitter in 2 seconds, and there'd be a New York Times article about it, and it would be gotcha. Well, there's all this government money that's being funneled into the wrong places. And again, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that would happen today. I think it's good that we know a lot of stuff that's going on. But geez, I think this was probably a good move on his part, and something to be said for being a good soldier and to trusting those above you, and maybe following orders is not always a bad thing. Okay, so that's a side note. So the only person in both pictures, obviously, is Stalin, right? The reason I asked that question, or because I want to make that point, that dictatorships are dictatorships. They don't have elections. They don't have to worry, right? And you don't have to worry about, if I make a deal with this country, is the next president just going to overrule that, right? Which I think some countries around the world are not questioning that, or asking that question about us. If I make a deal with the United States, is it going to last when the next guy gets elected, right? I think that's kind of a big issue where we have. We've seen some leaders get into office and just automatically try to overdo what their predecessor had done, which I don't know if that's a great thing. But I don't want to get political. I keep going on this point of dictatorship versus democracy. So I want to jump back. I added this yesterday. I'll talk about that in a second too. I added this today. This is the same slide presentation from yesterday. I don't know if you get those updates when I add to it. Let me come in here. So this is a political cartoon. Now this is about Castro, not Stalin, but it's the same idea, right? Don't worry, Fidel Castro will fall any minute now. And the point is, Eisenhower said it, Kennedy said it, Johnson said it, Nixon said it, Gerald Ford said it, Jimmy Carter said it, Ronald Reagan said it, Bush the first said it, or Bush 42, 42 said it. I'm not sure the number. I'm not going to waste time trying to think about it right now. And then Bill Clinton said it. The point being that you had Fidel Castro as the communist ruler of Cuba for however many years, one guy in charge the whole time, over a time where you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different American presidents, right? And then actually you could go further with that because this cartoon was obviously drawn a little earlier when Clinton was still president. And then Castro sticks around. He's still around when you have the second Bush, 43, and Obama. I'm pretty sure he died during Obama's term. Okay, next. So next you got the document, and basically what Keenan is saying here, right, if you read carefully, is that this is going to be a long conflict. Right? It is not going to be we can win one quick battle and then the Soviets will go away, it'll be over, and we can wash our hands and whatever. So as bad as World War I and World War II were, you're still talking about 5-6 years, and that's it, right? Whereas the Cold War is 50 plus, depending on exactly how you want to calculate the start of it and the finish of it, right? So he says the Soviet Union cannot be easily defeated. It's not going to be easy or discouraged by a single victory. One battle here is not going to work. But only by the intelligent and long-range policies, which is why I love Harry, because he sets the game plan for the whole thing. Look, we're going to contain them, right? Got to be steady in purpose. It's got to be United States policy, long-term, patient, right? This ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. we got to be vigilant, and we got to be committed. All right, so this is going to take a long time. That's basically what he's trying to say. It's back in 1947. Okay, the next page, this is going to question 20, talking about NATO and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And it says, according to this document, did America take Keenan's advice? I would say yes, right? Because they're showing that they're sticking it out for the long haul. They're committed. They're in this. They know it's going to take a while. Sorry, where can I find? Oh, there it is. It's ridiculous. Come on. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Did I add this? I thought I did. Oh, here we go. Yep, I did. Could have just hit next. Scanlan, sorry. So this is NATO versus the Warsaw Pact. Right, so essentially these are your two teams during the Cold War, right? Blue versus red. So think of the Cold War to a certain degree as a 50-year-old, or 50-year-long popularity contest, right? The Americans, that were that kid in school who wanted more kids liking them and being like them and doing things their way, and the Russians were the same way, right? And here you can see how countries joined over the years, right? Where Turkey and Spain and West Germany came in a little bit later, right? But essentially, again, those are your two teams, NATO and the Warsaw Pact. Difference being, if you wanted to join NATO, you could. You didn't have to. And if you didn't want to be in the Warsaw Pact, it didn't matter. Because as you may have read, if you checked out those textbook sections so far, that is going to be an assignment for next week. You didn't have a choice, right? Czechoslovakia or Hungary, when they decided, I don't want to be in the Warsaw Pact, or I don't want to be a part of the communist stuff anymore, we're leaving, the tanks rolled in and said, no, you're not, right? Little side note, if anybody's an NHL fan, Jaromir Jagr, great, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, I'd say. He was kid when those tanks rolled in to Czechoslovakia in 1968. That's why he always wore the number 68. You can see that on the regions. How does America signing and joining into this? It's a complete and total break. This is not in the document, but it's a complete and total break from our classic policy up until this point of isolation, right? We had to be basically dragged into World War I. We try to stay out of World War II until they attack us at Pearl Harbor, and we finally had realized that it's not going to work anymore. First of all, and we talked about this day one, very first day of global studies this year, we talked about globalization and the fact that even if you wanted to be isolated and stay out of world affairs, you just can't anymore. And they realized that back in 1949, when they established NATO and become part of it. Right now, they're tied to all these other countries, and the whole idea is, this is not a question on here, but the idea is collective security, right? Nobody's going to mess with Belgium or France or Switzerland or whoever, because they know if they do, they've got all these other countries in blue that they're going to have to deal with as well, all right? And it was a similar idea for the Warsaw Pact, but again, you were kind of forced into the Warsaw Pact, so it wasn't totally the same thing. And actually, we did an updated version of this, there have been former Warsaw Pact countries that have become part of NATO because, the fall of the Soviet Union at the end of the Cold War. So collective security, I think that's good. Next one, 22. Only 20 minutes in, we think we're going to make it. What does Harry Truman say is the best or the most efficient way to support the people who are resisting attempted subjugation? So we mentioned this yesterday in the video, the idea of who's going to be willing to try communism. The people who are poor and hurting and not having what they need to survive. They're going to be all into the idea of sharing and working together and common ownership and blah, blah, blah. Or even though Hitler was hated communism, similar ideas as far as the rise of dictators, right? How do dictators come to power? When people feel like they have no other option. So basically, here Truman is talking about economic help, right? We have to help the people who are fighting against the armed minorities. It should primarily, first paragraph, primarily be through economic and financial aid. Give them money. We saw it yesterday. Give them milk. Give them medicine, tractors, wheat, flour, whatever they need, and they won't need to turn to turn to communists or to dictators, right? The next question on the next page, specifically, where is he talking about? Where was the greatest threat or worry, right? Right in the middle of that document, just above question 22. I therefore ask the Congress to provide authority for assistance to Greece and Turkey. Okay, so again, it's Greece and Turkey which were kind of teeter-tottering, and it was like, oh my man, these guys might become part of the Warsaw Pact and become part of the Soviet sphere, right? And as you can see, they did. It worked. They become part of NATO eventually, even though it's a little later. It looks like 1956, because of the support, partly because of the support provided by America and the Marshall Plan, right? Also, just interesting here that Truman's talking about in the last paragraph, the idea that he's very confident that the Congress will do what he's asking, right? Which again, in times past, it didn't matter so much. Is the president Democrat or Republican? It was what's best for the country, and usually we could get stuff done. So again, I'm not going to get political here, but at least since I've been paying attention to politics in this country, which really I started really getting interested in and paying very close attention to, and right around the 2000 election, when I had just graduated from high school, and that's really when I started zooming in on stuff. It seems like more often than not we're not, and it's more about the guy in the Oval Office is not my political party, so even though this might be what's best for the American people, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not saying the Democrats or the Republicans are more to blame for that. I think it's happened on both sides, or by both sides, and I think it's something we really need to fix. Especially Corona related and whatever's next. Right? There's going to be something next. Unfortunately, there's always something. Whether it's Sandy or 9/11 or Corona or whatever it might be. Should be Americans before we're Democrats or Republicans, in my humble opinion. So which two nations? Yeah, so Truman thinks it's Greece and Turkey. And then I didn't assign number 24, right? I forget why. Because we hadn't really talked about the Marshall Plan, and when he did this, you hadn't talked about the Marshall Plan yet. But yeah, check it out. Of course we backed it up. We didn't just say we're going to do it, we actually did it. 189,963 flights, all those tonnage of food and coal and other goods from us, from the United Kingdom, from France. We put our money where our mouth was, and backed up what we said. We did what we said we're going to do. And I don't think I said this on the video yesterday. I just think it's so cool that for like a year, minute after minute, one plane would take off to deliver these goods as part of the Marshall Plan from France or from whatever NATO country into West Germany or West Berlin, right? Round the clock. One would take off, another one would return on a return trip or land from a return trip, get loaded up, take off. As soon as they took off, another one landed, just like a conveyor belt of planes landing, loading up, and taking off for about a year. And again, to the point where the Soviets ended the blockade and said, all right, we're not going to beat these guys. So I'm going to ask you to do a little bit more with that next week. But again, yesterday's video was quite extensive. I'm sorry. I know I rambled a bit. Today was shorter. 24 minutes. I was hoping for 15, but you know me. It never seems to be as quick as I want. And I think that's it for now. You got your old time radio show homework I pushed off till next week, so find a time that works for you. I actually, just when I went on to make this video, the first thing that came up was another suspense episode, because I listen to them a lot. I know I'm a loser, right? What else is there to do, really? Weather hasn't been great, so I haven't been able to get outside and play as much lacrosse. But I noticed there, somewhere around the 50s or early 60s, they altered formats. It must have been, I don't think it went into the 60s, but whatever. Towards the end of the suspense series, they changed to hour-long episodes. You don't got to do an hour-long one. I very rarely listen to the hour-long ones. I just kind of started because I've listened to all the other ones, but half hour is fine, totally. As far as the assignment goes, if you kind of dig in them, which some of you might, I did as a kid, and as a fake adult that I am today, if you're into them, go for it. Go for a 60-minute one, or just listen to as many as you want. Maybe you found something new that you're kind of into, and that's it. So the assignment that I sent out today about yesterday's video is due, by Monday morning. I know it's a really long video. I didn't plan for that. So do that when you can. Oh, last thing. All right. You might have seen this yesterday. I clicked to it at one point and then really didn't talk about it because it was, 15 minutes in. I didn't want to hold you guys any longer than I had to. So this, again, I'm not getting political here, man. This is talking, obviously, about the Berlin Wall compared to, I'm assuming, the border fence or the border wall or whatever. Remember back when that was an issue before things became more important? I'm not showing it for that. It took me a minute to even realize that was the purpose, because my head was locked into the Cold War in Berlin, and that's what I was imaging or Googling around for when I found this. So I didn't think of it that way. I don't care. The fence or the border wall should be the last thing on our mind right now. But this, to me, really does sum up the whole idea of one of your questions about the Berlin Wall and the Berlin blockade, right? For the Berlin blockade, it was more like this, right? Stay out. We don't want your Marshall Plan milk or your Marshall Plan doctors or your Marshall Plan flour or wheat. We're fine on our own, even though they weren't. Communism works, and we don't need your help. Leave us alone. And then you have the Berlin Wall, which is forcing people to stay in and shooting them if they try to leave, right? So I just like the idea of Berlin blockade. We don't want your help. Stay out. Versus Berlin Wall. I'm trying to leave because life in West Germany or West Berlin. I'm sorry, life in East Germany, East Berlin sucks, and I really want to get out of here. And we're not going to let you leave because these thousands and thousands and thousands of people leaving make us look bad, right? Which, again, if you have to build a wall to keep people in, what does it really say about you anyway? All right. So that's it for today. Still pushed it to 30 minutes, even though I didn't want to. Sorry. We almost had it at 24. And that's it. This is not an assignment, right? But again, I'm not going to go through and individually comment on each and every one of your answers and responses to this yellow packet. I'm going to check and make sure that you gave it a decent effort, give you a grade, encourage you to watch this, right? That's it. All right, so stay healthy, stay safe. Let me know if there's anything I can help out with, and take care. All right, hopefully see you guys soon.